This recording has been made possible with the support of the Collectors Admiralty. This recording is made with the permission of the original author. All rights are duly acknowledged. For more information about the book or the Collectors Admiralty, please visit the description box below. Ahmed Farooq's Cosmic Delirium, Chapter 5. Darkness had shrouded the lands. With its wide wings and its eye, the moon shone blissfully bright. Its tears twinkled and sparkled and merrily rejoiced as now was the time to be gazed at. At nightfall, they had arrived. Eleanor had moved into a place that seemed to be at the edge of the world, a city far from the madness that had erupted and raged like wildfire throughout the ill-fated globe. Beyond the outskirts of the city was a coastal cliff. Next to it rested a serene sea that warmly welcomed the water-loving birds. For lunch and as a free swim, and at night it would whisper lullabies to the fishermen and the villagers as they would sing hymns to their gods cheerfully. Beyond the sea cliff was an island, and the island had the finest and the most renowned university of the entire region. Beyond the towering walls of the university was sand that kissed the sea and nothing more. Eleanor's father had taken up the job as a professor of geology at the university, and the university in return had offered him shelter within the university walls. Their home was a few miles away from the astronomy department. Seated upon her bed next to the window in an empty, dusty room, Eleanor once more pondered were the dream sequences a part of reality, and were the scars associated with the dreams? Was the real part of the world an actual dream, or was it all just another dream? But those scars, had her arms been scratched by something sharp in the car, or was it caused by the dream sequence? Silently seated by the window, troubled by the mysteries that puzzled her, she gently hummed to herself as she gazed out of the window. By gentle hands of time was weaved what is seen and what remains unseen, entombed by the whimsical mystery, the brain forever a captive but never free. Fabricated are laws by the brain itself. Existence may last long, stand tall, the tough, and yet the only one who stands tall is time. Was time there before the bells would chime? Or is it one fabricated by the tides of dreams? What is that reality cries and mankind screams? The night grew darker, and Eleanor was soon to drift asleep, but the sudden burst of excitement outside her window prevented her from awakening within the uncertain lands. Hopping out of her bed with sudden burst of astonishment, she looked out the window. A comet raced across the starry sky, followed by another comet. It was an unusual sight. The students and the other professors stood there amazed with mouths wide open, cheering, hooting at the bewildering sight. Eleanor smiled in surprise, clutching her pillow tightly. Was this enchanted land at the edge of the world a house to spectacles as awesome as these? Eleanor's throat ran dry. She walked to the kitchen to fetch a glass of water. A mild stroll to the kitchen was quite peculiar. Her head felt heavy, and she felt drowsy, and a strong sense of nausea crawled down to her. She felt like she was being watched. Downstairs she saw a vague, shadowy figure that would fade away at times. It was certain that he was gazing at her. The closer she drew to it, the figure would slowly fade soon vanish. Slowly reaching out for the fridge, drowsily with trembling hands, she grabbed the handle. With a swoon, she soon fell asleep at the slightly open door of the fridge. Alas, she did not wake up this time in either worlds, but instead saw vivid imagery. 4 objects of different shapes and sizes were placed beside her, one being the orb the bizarre entity had brought to her and placed inside her pocket, the very orb he warned her of. The orb gave out a radiant glow, and soon Eleanor was awakened. Sitting curled up on the kitchen floor, a grim retrospect haunted her, and it came back to her silently. Al-Muallim's fall and the events that followed, and why of all the places was the one near the sea the safest. Nothing seemed to add up. She got up and walked back to her room, and there she silently lay down in her bed. Eleanor was crowned with thorns and seated upon the throne of gloom. The endless onslaught of flashbacks, dreams, and haunted thoughts tormented her. Time would no longer stand by her side to accompany her in times as harsh as these. She would no longer accuse and insult time, as she now knew it was a friend to no one and would never be a companion to any. Was depression conquering her blissful heart? Insomniac and puzzled, she curled up in her bed, tried to bring all the pieces together, but then to realize that most of the pieces were missing. She was lost hopelessly within her own head, and such troubles captivating her, she had developed a timid nature. The dark of the night was slowly dying. The sun was rising, howling like a warrior. It was followed by endless hordes of birds and squirrels. Eleanor was still wide awake, melancholy, tightly clenching her beating heart. End of chapter 5.